Welcome back. We are into part 2 of the systems section of this, and I really like this section. This one, we're going to go through a few more resources. I'm going to give you a little bit more of an overview of the portal. One of your homework assignments will be to become intimately familiar with that portal. Now, you may not end up using this after your 6 months free is taken care of, but whatever you end up using, you want to make sure that it includes those components. So we're going to go through some of those things. I'm going to do a hit and run on that. It's going to be a very quick run through because I'm assuming you've already fiddled with it a little bit. But one of your assignments will be to dig into that thing and get to know every last little piece so you can utilize it. And then again, if you end up not utilizing it 6 months from now, that's fine, but you'll know what you're looking for because we've included those key components that you've got to have as part of that. So that'll be part of it. And then the part I really like is this optimizing your time. You're a small business owner. I mean, we can talk all about, it's great to have this or that and different systems we're going to use, but your time is everything. If you don't use your time well, if you're easily distracted, if you don't invest it in the right stuff, you're going to get nowhere with your business. It's just not going to happen. You've got to be disciplined. So I'm going to give you a few tips. I've done some programs around the country. I used to do a ton of these. Haven't so much anymore. So what I did is I just took, I think it's 7 things that were the most effective when we got survey feedback on those presentations that should help you make the most of that time. So those are the things we're going to focus on today. You had your homework from last time, laying out those action plan statements. Not saying, oh yeah, I'll get to that, but literally boom, 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 laying those out. Having your initial stop, start, and continued filled out. 1 page, real simple. And then identifying someone for a weekly huddle. And hopefully, again, the design of these sessions is to be spreading them out, every at least 2 weeks. Some people do it over more like a 3 to 4 week period, depending on where you are in your business and where you started compared to the cohort sessions. But hopefully you've had 1 huddle, at least, with somebody based on what we talked about last time. So with that, let's jump into these additional systems, additional supplemental services that'll make a difference for you. So tracking systems, very, very, very important. Now again, when you have 2 clients, not a huge deal. But when you have 20, it becomes a very big deal. So a couple of things here, and I'm just going to throw out a few tips that may help you. I'm not an accountant. Yes, I've got an MBA, but we had 1 class on accounting, but you've got to do it. If you can't do it, hire somebody who can. A lot of good folks out there. If you're in the Colorado area, happy to refer you to the person that we use. But the combination of a bookkeeper/accountant, once you get past the very basic stuff, you're probably going to want someone. Now again, initially, you can probably get by without it, but be looking into this because long term, you're probably going to want somebody. Now, a lot of this stuff has gone electronic. A lot of this, QuickBooks, and they're not the only brand out there, and just as with everything else, we don't have any connection to it, but we use QuickBooks. Our bookkeeper actually turned us on to it. We were able to save a lot of money by us doing quite a bit of the data entry into QuickBooks, and then they could simply access that, and it makes it a much lower fee when we're paying the bookkeeper because we're doing a lot in QuickBooks. QuickBooks, if you really get into this stuff, you can probably get by without a bookkeeper and just access the accountant for that year-end tax statement. So if you really dig into the QuickBooks, there are courses on QuickBooks. It's not the purpose of this, but check it out because that may be a very inexpensive way for you to get started. Keep track of all the things you need to keep track of. Align your KPIs, your key performance indicators we talked about a couple of sessions back without spending a whole bunch of money. PayPal, brief comment on PayPal. And again, many other systems out there, it's the most known, it's the one that we use, and so I'm speaking about that based on what we use it for. They're not the cheapest out there. They take a little bit higher percentage of those payments. So for example, when you pay for certification through the Catalyst Coaching Institute, PayPal got a little piece of that. And that's the way it is. But it's easier for us to do that than to force the issue of, well, we got to get a check from you. Oh, we got to. So yeah, they get a piece, but they make it very simple for you. And with your clients, you may choose to go that route. To say, you know what, we're going to set up a PayPal account. It's very inexpensive or free, depending on which system you set up, to go in, set up an account, allow people to use credit cards with you. PayPal takes their percentage. You get the rest, but it's hassle-free. So that may be an option that you look into. And very nice for tracking. So for example, or refunds, or discounts, or whatever it is that you're doing, PayPal allows you to set that up, and again, relatively inexpensive to do that. And they can use any credit card they want through PayPal. Or if they have a PayPal account, they can just pay directly to that. So a couple of things there that should be hopefully a little bit helpful to you there. Now, handmade trackers. This is going to sound crazy, but I don't want to take this option of, well, could you just track some things by hand, and say, no, why would you do that? You know, with all the stuff that's out there, why would, you know what? We're starting our 10th year with U.S. Corporate Wellness. We have a pretty big business, and I still track one major thing by hand every single month. It's just a spreadsheet. And it's a big part of our business. And I'm not going to go into details, but it's a spreadsheet that I literally take a pen out and write 2 things on it for each of our clients every single month. And it works wonderfully. So QuickBooks is wonderful, other systems out there that are wonderful, but don't negate or don't blow off the option of, you know what, if it's really simple, maybe I can just put together a spreadsheet and track it by hand. Okay? So keep those things in mind. Let's talk about attorneys for a minute. You're going to need an attorney. You just are. You know, we've built some things into the portal for you where they're signing off when they register that that they understand this is not medical advice and those kinds of things. So part of that need for you is taken care of by using our portal. But if you get to the point where you're doing contracts with organizations, you're going to need an attorney to pull that together for you. You know, maybe at some point with this, if we have enough coaches going through the academy, I can approach our attorney and say, hey, could you put together a generic one that we can make available to folks at a real low price? But expect to pay a decent fee. But let me give you a tip on this. Don't have them write up the contract for each client. Go to an attorney and ask for a generic contract that you can utilize with all of your clients. Now again, you may not need one if you're working with individuals, or you may. It's your call. I'm not going to give you advice on that. I'm not an attorney. I don't play one on TV. But if you're working with organizations, you'll definitely need a contract. But we learned early on, we were going to our attorney for each contract. And so the first one was $1,000. The next one was, I don't remember, it was less, but it was still $700, $800. And we started doing the math, and we're thinking, wow, our margins aren't that high. We can't keep doing this. And so we basically got with them and said, you know, how do we genericize this? So I can plug in the company name, make a few of the changes. And so we learned that process. I'm not saying that's how you should do it. Again, I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving you legal advice. But it's something you may want to consider because it adds up very quickly if you're going to an attorney for each and every one of those contracts, each and every change that's made, et cetera. But it is worth it out of the gate to get that first one put together. All right? Let me jump down. We're going to talk about, I'm going to show you the HRA, Health Risk Assessment, and a few more things about the portal that will be helpful to you with your clients. But let's jump down to newsletters for a second. You know what? I was going to say you may not want to do this when you only have 3 clients, but frankly, maybe you do, because you can do this relatively inexpensively. The company we use for this is Constant Contact. There are several others out there, so do your homework, check your prices. We've used them since the beginning, and so we've just stuck with them. I have not done a price point comparison for the last probably 4 or 5 years because all of our data is in there. It's simple to use. But they make it they, being Constant Contact or any of these other services, make it very simple for you. They have shells put together, so it's not a 7-hour process to do your newsletter. They have a lot of different options where you can do surveys and track follow-up, and if people are going to attend things, you can have them do that. You can even connect it to your, I believe it is connected to PayPal, so if you wanted to have some kind of an event where people RSVP and pay $10, $50, whatever it is, they could do it through that. Now again, they're going to take a little piece, so make sure you do the math on these things. But Constant Contact allows you to do that, and where you're going to use your newsletters, we'll get into this when we get into the sales and marketing, but you could do one both for your current clients with a tip of the month or events that are going on in your area type thing, and you could do one for potential clients who you meet, they give you their business card when you speak at an event or something, and you do some kind of again, it's not a sales pitch. You're giving them helpful information. You're keeping your name out there. And again, we're going to get into that as we get into sales and marketing in the next session, but that's where the newsletter plays its part. It can be both your current clients, and it can be something you just send out just to keep you front and center with people that are out there who may at some point need your services. Okay. All right, so with that, let's jump into the health risk assessment. Now, again, I'm assuming that you've at least played around with the web portal, so my guidelines on this are going to be based on you having seen this. I'm not going to go through every aspect of it. Happy to answer any questions that you want to email to me. But this assumes that you've looked at it, you have a general idea. I'm just going to highlight a couple of things. Don't want to spend a lot of time on this. But first of all, your health risk assessment will give you outstanding credibility right out of the gate. Keep in mind, this is a tool that's used with literally hundreds of thousands, in fact, I think well over 1 million people nationwide. We work directly with this organization. It's called MetaKeeper. It's one of the top ones out there. We switched to them a few years ago because their program is, their tool is so much better. Their aggregate reports are so much better than anything we'd seen before. Now, normally it would not be available to companies with less than 1,000 employees. With this agreement we have with them, we're able to roll it into the Wellness Nation for you guys because we're using it with many of our other large clients. So this is a cool tool. It gives you great credibility. You can, if you're working with organizations, it allows you to pull some aggregate data. And just keep in mind that you can't do that unless you have at least 50 participants. It's a HIPAA issue. But even if it's just for individuals, it gives you that credibility. You're not a doctor. You're not, well, maybe you are, but you're not a doctor when you're on the phone. You're a wellness coach. And so be careful about giving medical advice, but this provides you the opportunity to build off of what's going on in their lives, able to ask the right questions, let them know based on what the HRA is saying, some of the things they may want to talk through with you. So first of all, when they finish this process, and I would probably not have them do it after your first coaching session, certainly not before your first coaching session. You want to build that engagement first, not engagement at some point. So if you've already got a strong relationship, if you've been working with them in some other area for a while, great. Go ahead and have them jump on and do the HRA. If they are new to you as a client, I would hold off on the HRA until at least one coaching session takes place. And then, before our next session, I want you to go on, fill this thing out. It's going to take about 20 minutes. If you have your blood work available, even better. Maybe they're planning on getting their blood work done in the next 3 months. Well, then just wait. Don't force it. The information you're going to get as a result of having blood work is so much more valuable than if they just do the subjective portions. But even with that, it gives you something. So they'll be able to pull up their results, talk this stuff through with you. They'll get the kind of the green, red, yellow stuff of how they're doing with each area, things they're doing well, things they really need to work on. It breaks it down very nicely for you. And then within each area, so I pulled up an example for melanoma, it goes into what can you change? What can't you change? You're not going to change your eye color, even though that's a risk factor for melanoma. And then what are the things you're doing well? So again, it gives you some things for them to think about. You can have conversations around, you looked at your results, what jumped off the page, what are you concerned about? Again, you're not giving medical advice, but you can have a conversation about what they're thinking about as a result of seeing that. They can email their health risk assessment to their physician. How powerful is that? And it is HIPAA compliant. And then if you're working with organizations and you have at least 50 participants in the HRA, then you can pull aggregate data. And I'm not going to go into the details here. I just want to give you a quick glance at what's available. You can look at all the different risk factors. I was just putting together a report for one of our clients yesterday, and it's very powerful. You can see who's low risk, who's medium risk, who's high risk. You can see how it's distributed. You can see if people are, how willing they are to work on those things. That's part of the process. It goes into lifestyle factors. It goes into stress and productivity. All of these elements that shows that what you're doing makes a difference. Very, very important for the future of your business. With the biometric screenings, you can get at a glance look at how do they compare to a year ago versus now. And then for the employee, it's very easy for them to look at it and say, okay, here are my results in 13, here are my results in 2014, 15, 16, etc. So at a glance, very nice. Now, the portal as a whole, we looked at the notes section last time. I've made this comment before, I'll make it again. If you're using the portal and your clients barely touch it, we're going to look at challenges and we're going to look at trackers and that kind of thing today. But let's just say you have a client or you have 20 clients and they do the health risk assessment and you use the notes section. But those clients, unless you're doing a challenge, they barely touch the web portal. They maybe go on there every 3 months or something. Still huge because it's a marketing tool. Whether they go on or not, the presence of that tool, the fact that that's part of your business, gives you great, great credibility. And the fact that you can share with them, this is HIPAA compliant, it's protected by ARMOR. ARMOR is the new name for FireHost. They actually host the high trust certification. Very, very powerful. So feel free to mention that when you're out there to talk to folks. If you're in companies, absolutely huge. Within that portal, and again, your homework is to fiddle around with this stuff, so dive in, please. And we're constantly making changes to the website, so it may not look exactly like this, but this will give you an idea of what's inside. You can set up your own goals. So you can set a goal for sleep enhancement, for relationship development, or swimming, or I think we have 23 different categories. They can just click on Add Modify Goals, and the whole thing will open up, check on the one they want to focus on, and get that dialed in. For each one of those goals, again, you know goals. You get it. You understand how to write goals that are objective and measurable and have time frames associated with them. Your clients may not. And so within each of those goal things, it's got a place where it's got examples. You can see over to the right there where it has goal ideas, action plan ideas. They fill that out. You can go through that with them, and they can actually get an email sent to them to remind them about the goal that they set. They don't have to, but it's available. They can do it weekly, twice a month, monthly, or not at all. There are the different goal categories. They can select based on what they're focused on. It's not pre-populated. It's up to them, part of the engagement process. This is very powerful. It's called the Letter to Me. And I would encourage you to use this with your clients on a regular basis. The idea came from the concept where you write a letter to yourself, and then you hand it to a friend, and you say, I'm committed to this. It's a goal that I set for 2 months from now, or whatever time frame. I want you to read it, hold me accountable to it, and stick it in the mail 2 months from now. This all happens electronically through the system. So they write up the letter, they set the date they want to receive it, and they put your name in there. By the way, they don't even have to put your name in. They can just check that box, and you'll get a copy of it. They can put a friend's name in there. They can put a spouse's name in there. Again, it's email, not name, but email address. And that commitment's there, and they can't change it. The goals, they can go change anytime they want. So if they say, you know what, I don't think I'm going to do that goal after all, they can frankly go change it. But the Letter to Me, once the envelope is in the mailbox, it ain't coming back. So nice tool there. I encourage you to use it. Now, This next section, the challenges, this is, I hate to say it's one of your best marketing tools, but it frankly is one of your best marketing tools. People need deadlines. And one of the things you can do with these are all built into your portal. We actually have a couple more that are in there now. But you can set up, let's say that it's June right now, and you've got 10 clients you've been talking to, potential clients you've been talking with, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about getting started with you. Well, let's set a deadline. Anyone who is signed up as a client by August 1st will have a chance to participate in our Have It Your Way challenge. And maybe you have some fun little, prize that you give out, or a traveling trophy or something. Don't kill your budget on that, but you can have some fun around that. Well, suddenly people go, oh, by August 1st, huh? Oh, okay. Well, that's actually a pretty good date for me. I'll sign up, so I'm ready to go with the challenge. It sets a deadline, and it provides some group involvement with what you're doing, but it costs you nothing extra to do it, because you can set these challenges up in less than 10 minutes. Real simple. It tracks everything. It shows you that it can tie into Fitbit. So if your clients have a Fitbit, it can automatically update the results for them. By the way, not only if they're doing contests, but also if they just want to link it in there so you can see how they're doing. Great tool. And then the scoreboard, it's done. So you're not tracking this stuff. If you're doing a Biggest Loser contest, you're not having to collect the data. They just go in, enter it. It shows up on the scoreboard. It shows that if you have teams, it shows the leading teams. If you have individuals, it shows who's leading that. Everything is percentage-based when we talk about weight, so no one sees anybody else's weight. It's just fun stuff. And I've been amazed at how this engages both companies, who like to do about 3 or 4 of these a year, and individuals. So know that this is a very powerful tool, both for getting people started and for leveraging your time, because it creates a service for your clients that not all of them will love, but most of them will get into, that is not going to take you more than, again, 10 minutes, maybe a few reminders to folks. Okay? You also have some additional options built in. There's a 14-week smoking cessation program that people can sign up for, work their way through. There's a Ready, Set, Live, which is a weight management program they can sign up for. They get weekly assignments, if you will, with that. There's a 14 weeks to your first or fastest 5K. Again, we set the 14 weeks so it would correspond with the smoking cessation and the weight management program. Obviously, you don't have to take a full 14 weeks to get ready for a 5K, and we have some programs that maybe we can pull up that have training programs and that kind of thing for that. But that gives you some other options. Again, doesn't take any of your time, allows you to offer that extra service. Nutrition trackers, fitness trackers, let me give you one hint on this since you're going to be working your way through it over the next week or two. These are great tools. They're not meant to be competing with the, what's the My Food Journal or whatever, My Fitness Pal stuff. Those are multi-million-dollar products. We did not invest that much in this, but we did invest to the point where these have, the nutrition tracker, for example, has 48,000 items in there. So the key to using the nutrition tracker is not to search for every item. It's to figure out, spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes, sit down once, put in all the things that you generally eat. And let's face it, we generally eat the same things over and over. So it's probably a list of 20, 25 things tops. Give those 4 stars, and then they will show up in your faves. So that every time from then on, you have a spinach salad for lunch. Well, you can just click on your favorites, there's spinach salad, bada boom, done, good. So very easy process if you'll take the 20 minutes or so to set up what fits you. Same thing with Fitness Tracker. And it's not just I went for a run, it's I ran 8 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour, 6 miles an hour, etc. So set up your favorites, give it 4 stars, and then they'll show up. Very easy process going forward. You may have clients that love doing this. You may have clients that don't want to track it. I don't like to track my stuff on a regular basis when it comes to nutrition, but I've found that just doing it for 48 hours or even 24 hours can really light a candle for people, including myself, when you realize what you're eating. So that's the value of these tools. All right. as I said at the very beginning, you have there's no resource that you have beyond maybe your relationships, and we'll get into that in the sales and marketing section, than your time. So I've got a few tips put together for you. 7 tips, straightforward. And if you do these things, I'll tell you, you will get so much more out of your day. You will get so much more out of your business. So with that, let's jump in. The first one is this attitude of every moment matters. What are you doing? You know, how are you spending your time? What are you working on? Every moment matters. If you go into your day with that attitude, then you stop fiddling around on Facebook. You stop checking email every 4 minutes. You stop, you know, just kind of wandering around. I had a buddy who had an opportunity. His company, he did not own his own business, but he worked for a company that allowed him to work from home 2 days a week, which is fantastic because he's a single dad and he needed to be available for his kids, and it was perfect. And I won't tell you his name, but I was just like, that's awesome, congratulations. He said, no, it didn't work. And I'm like, what do you mean? What happened? He goes, da-na-na, da-na-na. Well, many of you recognize what song that is. In spite of my lack of musical talent, it's the theme for SportsCenter. He couldn't resist having SportsCenter on because he was home. And you hear stories about people saying, oh, well, you know, I thought I'd get a little laundry done, or, you know, my dog wanted to play ball or whatever. You know what? If you got time for all those things, great. There's nothing wrong with SportsCenter. There's nothing wrong with playing ball with your dog in the middle of the day. There's nothing that may be part of why you started your own business. But have you designed your day to make sure that every moment matters, or you're throwing it away? Number 2, block scheduling. You are going to have certain projects that they take 3 minutes, you know, kind of the low-hanging fruit. Boom, 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 done. You can have other things, though, that are an hour, 2 hours. The idea of block scheduling is you start your day, you literally sit down and you say, from 9 to 10, I'm working only on this project. I'm turning off my phone. I'm not checking email. I'm blocking that time out. Very powerful. If you haven't tried it, get into it. This idea of block scheduling and saying, I'm going to put this here and that there, very, very powerful tool. When you're constantly going back and forth between things, it just doesn't work. Personal prime time. You have a prime time. You have a time of the day that you are just dialed. I mean, you just, boom. It's like you're on, you know, and you got your fresh cup of coffee and you're ready to rock and roll. And it may have nothing to do with caffeine. It's just your time. For some people, that's late at night. For some people, it's first thing in the morning. For some people, it's midday. If you tune into this, you'll pick up on your patterns. So for me, my personal prime time, first thing in the morning. So I get that workout done, and the first couple hours in the office, it's like, boom, you can get so much done. You're alert, you're excited, you're moving, blood's flowing, you know, maybe it's tied to that workout, whatever, but the first couple hours, that is my prime time. And then, you know, not great, middle day, early afternoon, and then it seemed like around 4 o'clock, I had another one. It's like, oh, boom. And that 4 to 6 time, very, very productive. I don't know if it's the fact that time is running out, and my day, I try to stay off of the computer after 6:30 at night. So maybe it's seeing that, oh, I'm towards the end of the day here, I better get moving, kind of into the race feeling. But that's mine. So think about what is yours. And you may not know off the top of your head. You may be thinking, I'm not really sure. That's okay. That's fine. So tune in, take some notes, track what you're doing. We talked about that tool, Rescue Time, a couple sessions back. That may show some cues in terms of what, or some clues as to what your prime time is and when you tend to divert your attention to other things. Number 4, focus on your focus. Folks, multitasking gets a lot of attention. It doesn't work. Study after study shows it just doesn't work. Now, you've got to fit it to your attention span. Some people are grinders, and they can literally sit there and grind stuff out for 3 hours straight and nothing's messing with them. And other people will shorter attention span, and you need to check email every 30, 40 minutes just to have a little quick diversion, but they're disciplined about that's a 1-minute check, and I'm right back over. It's not a check, and then I think I'll look at Facebook, and then I'll do my Twitter account and all that kind of stuff. Okay. And by the way, coming back to that block scheduling, we're getting into, we talked about social media a couple of sessions ago. Actually, I think it was the last session. We're going to talk about that in the context of sales and marketing. One of the things I want to encourage you to do is to block schedule those things, because it's very easy. Those are time consumers. You jump on Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, or you can spend 8 hours, no problem. No problem. And certainly an hour or two. So by block scheduling those things, it commits you to it, but it also limits you to that time. So that's the value of that block scheduling. Number 5, urgent versus important. If you've read Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he talks about these concepts of things that feel like they're urgent, but they're really not important, versus things that are truly important but have no urgency, and so we put them off. Everything you do as a wellness coach is about helping people focus on the important and push aside the urgent. Please be applying that in your own life as well. Does it really have importance? Is this building your business, or is it just the latest email that comes through, or the latest text, or the latest Facebook post, or the latest Twitter update? Maybe you want to turn off your phone. I read an article the other day about you turn off your phone 6 hours a day. So you check it first thing in the morning, you turn it off, 6 hours later you turn it back on. And you've got 6 hours of focus time. Very, very powerful if you're willing to take that leap. And you know, maybe you're thinking, oh, but I got to be able to answer the phone. Really? Hey, think about it. How many times does someone call you? Now, if you're a parent, you may be like, oh, if my kids need me, I got to be there. So maybe that doesn't work for you. Maybe you set so only the kids' rings come through, nothing else, and you don't pick it up, Facebook chats or anything else. So consider that. Number 6 of 7, transitions. Some of you know I enjoy doing triathlons, and one of the things I learned early on is you can be the fastest swimmer, fastest cyclist, and fastest runner and lose a race. Yes, it actually happened to me. I had a race against a guy who actually generally beats me, but on this day I happened to be faster when you combine our swim, bike, and run times. But he was faster in the transitions, and so he won. He beat me. He out-transitioned me. Even though it was a triathlon and I out-swam by him, he won. I was second because his transitions were better. And that is an amazingly insightful, hey, Brad, you're so insightful. No, take that concept of transition and apply it to your business, and your insight into that will just blow up. Because if you think about what are your transitions? Well, you transition from your workout to getting showered and onto your day. How long does that take you? Do you go up and have some breakfast and have the dog and read the paper and that's a transition. So what is your transition time from, let's just say you like riding your bike, you got a stationary bike in your house, and you like doing that, that's your workout of choice. How long, if you started a timer, how long would it be from the time you get off that bike till the time you are showered and sitting at your desk working? Is it 12 minutes? Is it 47 minutes? That matters. What's the transition for, you're going to have a lot of meetings you've got to attend, things off-site, in your office. How does that tie in? Do you make good use of that? As you're scheduling your meeting, let's say you've got a meeting next Thursday. You immediately reach out to people in that area and say, hey, I'm going to be in your area, and kind of, again, here's your block scheduling again, block those out so that as long as you're there, you've got another meeting next to it. Or do you drive 30 minutes away, go to a meeting, drive 30 minutes back to your office, and do it again tomorrow? Now, I know you can't control those meetings. You're not the ultimate meeting hero that gets to put every meeting exactly where it goes, but you'll be amazed. Just as life tends to fit into the structure that you give it, same thing's true of meetings. One of the probably the biggest revelations I've had about running this business is meetings. I used to go to anything, anywhere, anytime, and now I'm much more purposeful about it. And sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and go to a meeting that doesn't fit at all with anything else in your life. But most of the time that works. And even take it to the extreme. Let's say you've got a meeting at, I don't know, 10 in the morning, and your next one's not till 2:30 in the afternoon, and they're not right next to each other. Well, do you drive all the way back to your office, or do you put projects aside that you can fill those gaps with? And as soon as that one meeting's over, you find a Starbucks or someplace quiet that you can sit down, pull your computer out, pull your notepad out, work on those things, so you're not spending time in transport across town. Huge, huge opportunity. Don't miss that. So meetings, by the way, commuting time, I didn't mention that. When people are setting meetings up with you, you know the flow of traffic. How do you work around that? It's immense. And maybe you live in a town where there's no traffic. Congratulations, way to go. Enjoy it. But in most towns, we're in the Denver metro area. It's not the worst place, but it's not the best. And if I leave for a meeting at 6:45 in the morning, for an extra 30 minutes, no matter where I'm going. If I leave at 9:30, 30 minutes, it's not there. If it's a 25-minute destination, then it takes me 25. Same thing, end of the day. If I've got a meeting that wraps up at 4 o'clock, 4:30, it's going to take me an extra half hour to get back to my house. Are you planning around? You can't control when all those meetings occur. You're not the meeting guy. But you can work around those with other things in your life. So let's take the morning meeting, for example. If I've got a 7 a.m. meeting or an 8 a.m. meeting, it's going to put me right in the middle of traffic. Actually, 7 a.m., you pretty much avoid it because you can get out the door by 6, 6:15. Let's say you've got an 8 a.m. meeting. Very common. Well, you can leave at 7 there, sit in traffic, listen to sports talk or talk radio or music or whatever you like, or find a rec center nearby. I do this all the time. If I'm having or an evening meeting, that's when I'll plan my swim for the week. So 8 o'clock meeting, instead of leaving at 6:45 and sitting in traffic, I'll just leave at 5:30. Drive right to the rec center that's right next to where my meeting's going to be, get a swim in, get a shower, get over to the meeting, no traffic, got the workout in, almost free time with that workout because let's say I'm swimming for an hour, and it would have cost me an extra half hour of driving time. Wow. I just saved, you get the idea. You get the idea. Same thing end of the day. If I've got a meeting that goes till 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'm not sitting in traffic. I'll find a pool or I'll find a Starbucks. Not to drink coffee, by the way. I don't think I have to say that to wellness coaches, but please, never after about 10 a.m. But a place that I can sit, get some work done, and then drive not in traffic. So this idea of transition, huge opportunity. Please take advantage of it. And then lastly, the last of the 7, and we'll wrap this thing up, is the idea of subcontracting. Now, this will probably not apply to you immediately unless you're working a full-time job while you're starting your wellness coaching business. And if you are doing that, then this idea of subcontracting, at some point you're going to do this. Hopefully you're going to grow to the point where you need other people to do certain things for you. One, you want to look at your talents. Two, you want to look at your value. So if you're working another job, let's just say you're making, I don't know, 20 bucks an hour. So you know that if you're going to work on a project that takes you 3 hours, your cost, you could be working your other job and make about 60 bucks. Okay? You can take taxes out of that, whatever, but somewhere around that $60 level. So could somebody else do that job faster because they're better at it? It's a gift of theirs, not yours, but you do it because you're a small business owner, and we do everything, right? Well, maybe let's just use the newsletter example. Is there someone who could do that newsletter in less time, do just as good or better job than you would do, and it would cost you less than what you could make elsewhere during the same time? That's the discussion you want to have in your head. Now, at some point, you're just going to be so busy that you're going to have to do it anyway, or hire an employee or a couple of employees. But in the beginning, you want to weigh that out of, is this costing me less than I can make either in my other job or focusing on doing, for example, coaching? How many coaching clients would that take? Right? So those are your big 7. When it comes to optimizing your time, those are the things you want to focus on. Obviously, there are 100 others I could take you through, but those are the ones that I've found have the biggest impact on folks right out of the gate. One of your homework assignments is going to be pick one purposeful change you'll make. So you may want to jot something down here because that's coming next. All right? So you're actually, number 1, be familiar with the web portal and use it with at least 1 client. Number 2, make 1 purposeful adjustment to the way you optimize your daily plans. All right? So 2 application points here. Number 1, get to know that portal intimately. Again, you may not end up using it 6 months from now. Try it now and know it front to back, every little bit of it, so you can be effective with that. Number 2, make 1 change. Now, you may want to make 3 or 4, but make 1 purposeful change to the way you run your daily plans. All right. Next up is the one that many of you have said, this is the most important thing I need. I don't know how to do sales and marketing. So that's coming up. I'll see you then.